I see that Dylan Raiola, the five-star quarterback, who's arguably the best in the nation for 2023, is visiting Ohio State. He has legacy connections to Nebraska. Can you imagine them landing a number one quarterback in the country? That would be unheard of. Any thoughts about the 2024? Thank you, Kevin. 2024, absolutely. So, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because Ohio State looks like it could be in a position to land its 24 quarterback before its 23 quarterback. And I know that they're going to be the people out there who's going to be like, well, if you're a 23 quarterback and you're frightened by a 24 quarterback, we don't want you. Well, it's at some point we've talked about before on the show that year in and year out, if you keep landing guys that you may not get a 5-star every single time because of the depth, and if the guy who's already a year behind you is in the class, what does that mean? I never was going to say that Ohio State was going to get Dante Moore. I had the chance to see Dante Moore at the Elite 11 camp. He, made sure that we all knew that he was born in Cleveland, was from Ohio, grew up as an Ohio State fan. I think he ends up at Notre Dame, if we're being quite honest. But what does this mean for 23? Ohio State, Raiola, and then there's, Jaden Davis was the other top quarterback in the class. Ohio State seemed to be in really good position with Jaden Davis. And I was producing a podcast with Bill Green and Mark Givler, and they said that if Ohio State ends up with Raiola, Jaden Davis was held back a year. I think it was one of those athletic holdbacks, just for athletic purposes. Maybe you see if Jaden Davis can get his academics done, and maybe he becomes your 23 quarterback. I don't know. I mean, I think that's the situation where everything falls perfectly. That's a one-outer in poker. I mean, you're not necessarily counting on that one-outer to happen for you. But Raiola's the dude. I mean, he is very talented, and I don't see him being the kind of kid too that if you land him this far in advance, that it's going to be white knuckling until you sign him here in like 11 million days when that happens. And I think it's very important too to know who the quarterback is in a class in terms of being the leader of the class. I mean, Ohio State's doing just fine in 23 without a quarterback committed, but you sit there and that's your first commitment in 24. That certainly sends a message when you have young guys out there like JoJo Trader and Jeremiah J.J. Smith and some guys like that as you're trying to put it together. And, it sure doesn't hurt your 23 receiver recruiting as well with Tate and Ennis and guys like that.
I agree with what Kevin's saying there on Raiola. I mean, you have a chance to land him. You do it every day. Chandler, Arizona, 6'3", 225 pounds, right out of Central Casting, it sounds like. Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, USC, all up there for him. And number 8 overall in the composite, and number 1, according to 24/7 Sports, number 1 overall on the 24/7 Sports board for 2024. So, you can always rent a backup quarterback in the portal if you need one. I mean, you're going to lose Stroud, obviously, after this season, and you hope you have McCord and Brown in the fold for 2023. But for depth, if you need it, you can probably find somebody who can take third-string reps in 2023 if you don't end up signing a 2023 quarterback, which I would not advise that, certainly. But if that's push came to shove, what happened. But to me, just a tremendous upside here on Raiola. I know that there have been some crystal balls for USC in our network, and Steve Wiltfong came out with one for Ohio State. So I'm not sure what Steve Wiltfong is going by, but like what Steve Wiltfong is smoking on this one. And, we'll see. I mean, this just falls right along the lines. I mean, with Quinn Ewers and all the other top quarterbacks, Brown, McCord, Stroud, that they have taken under this head coach. It's been one after another, and that's how you do it if you want to stay at the top of college football.
It's going to be – we don't know exactly when this would pop. I think he said maybe by the before his season starts, maybe something like that. It will be interesting to see what happens with the 2023 class. And, yeah, there has been speculation even well before Dylan Raiola that would Jaden Davis reclassify to 2023. I think the thing that we need to remember is Ohio State really wasn't in on C.J. Stroud until the summer, of the Elite 11 and the opening that time. They certainly weren't in on Devin Brown until the winter, the fall, and here we are in the spring. So there is still plenty of time for somebody to emerge. I know there's the belief that 2023 doesn't look at 2024, and the kids this year don't look at next year. I think quarterbacks are probably different though, and they tend to look at the class before them, the class possibly coming, and I think you're going to know who is already committed at your position because opposing coaches are going to tell them. Why would you want to go? Do you know who they have in 24 at Ohio State? Why would you want to go to Ohio State? So the 2023 quarterbacks are going to have to deal with that. Ohio State's going to have to deal with that. But what Ryan Day is constantly pitching is the development that happens at Ohio State. And so far, they've had proof of that. There's been it's evident you're going to have three straight quarterbacks drafted in the first round, and it's the proof is there. And so then obviously only one can play, but how patient can quarterbacks be? And you don't want to skip a class. It's hard for them to ever keep more than just 3 quarterbacks on the roster at one time. So if you have to skip a class, it is what it is, but you can't because players are transferring anyway. So the guy you don't get in 2023, somebody else is going to transfer, and then you're going to be down to 2 scholarship quarterbacks. So you just got to find a guy who is, the best you can, the best player you can find who is also the most willing to deal with that kind of quarterback room. And Devin Brown was perfect because he doesn't care about competition. He relishes it. That's what he wants. And he also wants that development. And when you find those kind of guys, you can win with those. You can certainly play with those guys, and they end up leading your program pretty well.